Faces dropped on another edition of Soccer Down Here. It is Wednesday, September 30th. It's a Wall Pass Wednesday. Take your questions, we'll take your comments throughout the show on Twitter at Soccer Down Here, email soccerdownhere@gmail, or on the Twitch pitch, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere. We got Copa Libertadores to talk about. We have the Gummy Bear Cup, the Carabao Cup, which had a pretty wild match yesterday. We'll get into that. We'll get into Barcelona turning into a destination for potential U.S. men's national team players and the implications of that. We'll talk about MLS. We'll talk about anything else that's on your mind this morning. And happy birthday to Jason Nix's son, who's 19 today. Happy birthday.
Sweet. Happy birthday.
All right. Captain Ragamuffin says, poor Mason Mount, so we'll start there. Chelsea had the game? What are you giggling about?
No, just the...
You're already giggling.
Just the talking to the hand for the...
Nobody said anything about talking to the hand. John, now you're making things up. Nobody did that. This is what happened in the match, because there was more than the one story in the match, and Chelsea had the lead, and they gave it up. Mm-hmm. And it finished 1-1, and they go straight to penalties, and everybody made their penalties, and Mason Mount missed the last one, and Tottenham advanced. I don't know if Tottenham really wanted to advance, because, I mean, they play again tomorrow in Europa League, and now they're just adding another game to their crowded schedule. But they advanced, and what else do you want to talk about? What are you getting into?
Well, the irony of the sideline row was a part of it.
No, that wasn't what you were getting into.
No. It was Eric Dyer was what I was getting into.
Look, Eric Dyer had to go. Let's leave Eric Dyer alone. They played like Sunday, and they played again yesterday. He hasn't had time. He had to go. He went. He ran off.
Zero issue with him having to go.
Well, I mean, I hope you don't have an issue with it, because there's nothing you can do about it. He had to go. He left. He went. Mm-hmm. It happens. It doesn't happen very often.
No.
I can't remember the last time I've seen that in a match, but it happened. And the broadcast with him running down the tunnel and Jose Mourinho chasing after him is one of the wildest things I've ever seen in my life. And he came back and he was great in the match. And I mean, he got the job done on both counts, I guess.
Yes. I mean, hey, when you got to go, you got to go, and it just so happened that it had to be during the match. Look, I'm not going to sit here and be like it was in the old days. Was it Lineker who did it? The other image?
You had to bring that up, didn't you?
Uh-huh.
Just go, since John wants to be scatological this morning. Just go look up Gary Lineker World Cup 1990 and use whatever terminology you want for what Eric Dyer had to do yesterday in your Google search. You're not going to type in had to go. Stop. Listen to me. I'm not telling the story. You go look this one up. And there's video for you. So you can go get the whole story about Gary Lineker, and you'll realize why everybody was tweeting at Gary Lineker when Eric Dyer ran off the field yesterday. If you don't know the story, I ain't telling you. All right? Not telling you.
No.
But yeah, that's the last time that I remember anything like this happening. Boy, I mean, look, it's part of all of our lives. We just normally don't have it happen when millions of people around the world are watching.
Workday, yeah.
Well, no, a lot of people have it happen in the middle of a work day. That's not that surprising. We don't have millions of people watching us work and watching us run out of the office to go do what we got to do. And we don't have anybody chasing us and telling us to hurry either. That was, wow, I mean, madness. He said he heard that like Chelsea had a chance because you could hear, I guess, the commentary down in the stalls and stuff, and he heard that Chelsea had a chance, and he's just hoping that they don't concede while he is taking care of his business.
Brings new meaning to the phrase "all or nothing," doesn't it?
Yeah.
Can we get? Do you think season 2 would have something like that?
And boom goes the dynamite.
All right, let's move on. Chelsea and Tottenham have some interesting little storylines going on outside of all of that. Domer might want to leave for a little bit. He just came in, and yeah, we're talking about yesterday, Domer. I'm sorry, I apologize. Frank Lampard, Jose Mourinho, they have a ton of respect for one another. I think people are always trying to blow things out of proportion. Yes, they were chirping at one another on the touchline. That's not a surprise when you've seen either one of them work. They don't hate each other. They're not going to fight each other. Jose's talked about how Lampard is, I think, one of his favorite players that he's ever had all time. Lampard talks about the respect he has for Mourinho. In a game, yeah, they're going to chirp back and forth because that's what they do. So I think Lampard was saying that Mourinho was talking more to the refs than to his own team, and yap, and there you go. I don't know if Chelsea fans are necessarily upset here outside of just losing to Tottenham. That means more than probably the competition they were in. And it should mean more than now you don't have another game to play. And I hate that a competition is looked at this way, but it is. You don't want these games necessarily. If you know you can win the trophy, different conversation. But if you advance in the tournament and then don't win the trophy,
yeah,
you've wasted a lot of minutes. And players only have so many minutes. I mean, just the fact that Tottenham played Sunday, correct?
Yes.
They played again yesterday.
Mm-hmm. They
play again Thursday. That's insane.
Yeah.
That is insane. It's not good. And I mean, Jose said it yesterday. He's like, I took a big risk in playing Eric Dyer for 90 minutes in the match because he played 90 on Sunday. And he did. And he's able to get away with it. And defenders, you can take that risk a little bit more. Guys who are running more, you just can't. I'm a little surprised by the quality of the lineups from both teams, to be perfectly honest. I thought they would go far more with the kids just to give guys breaks. But this is where you're at right now. This is what this season is going to be like. And I don't know what Tottenham has in the tank to throw out on Thursday. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, and you look at this year heading into this season was crazy to get to a finish. But now you have, you have all these competitions that are slammed into each other. And frankly, for me, if you're a Premier League side and you just basically sit there and look at Gummy Bear Cup or something and just sit there and go, no, I got to preserve myself for other competitions for either European theater or Premier League title or both or however many you want to try to win, something's going to have to give. If you want your own personal sanity, if you want your own health of your players long term so you can achieve those goals that are more important on your list. So, no, I completely am on the side of managers and teams in a...
But they didn't. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. It's a surprise. I mean, look at who was on the field.
Yeah.
These teams didn't do that.
I know, but what I'm just saying is that if you are having an early decision in this and you sit there and you're just like, nope, something's got to give, and I'm just going to not focus on this particular competition, I don't blame any manager who has that point of view. With the lineups that these two teams trotted out yesterday, right now, absolutely, once again, that's what you're gunning for. More power to you. But I still have the same amount of respect for someone who's like, nope, we got other things to do. This one's going to have to go away. So I completely can see it both ways here.
What's left in the Gummy Bear Cup at this point? Who's left? Where are we left? Do the research and pull that up so we can take a glance at it, because some managers have talked about not taking this tournament seriously. The lineups yesterday tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
At least for those two managers and those two teams. But other managers have talked about not taking it seriously. I mean, Jose said he wasn't going to play anything resembling a first-choice lineup, and he did. Full credit to Tottenham for the Man of the Match award and the pictures of Dyer winning the Man of the Match award and then having it in the loo. That's good stuff. That's good entertainment. Just insanity. Craziest thing I've seen in a while in a game. Domer says about Chelsea, first half was pretty good. Second half was very poor. said that just hates losing to the other London teams. Chelsea really lacked in the second half adjustments. Jason Nix with a really good point, and this does change it a little bit when we're talking about Mourinho. Tottenham hasn't won a trophy in a long time. Any trophy. It's a trophy. It's not the FA Cup. It's not the Premier League. It's not the Champions League. It's not the Europa League. It's a trophy. But maybe he's in a different situation. Now, I would think Frank Lampard might kind of be in that situation. Maybe that's why we saw the lineup we did. But a Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp are going to be in a different conversation about that. Because then I think the trophy, it's not the same kind of trophy. But for Spurs and for Mourinho, yeah, I guess. I was just a little surprised at the lineup after the lip service he gave about playing kids and turning around and having to play in Europa League 2 days later and all of that. I don't know what he's going to field on Thursday. Who's left in the tournament? Where are we with the Gummy Bear Cup?
We're in the round of 16.
Mm-hmm.
And so today you've got 4 matches. Tomorrow you have 3 others. Newport, Newcastle, Burnley, Manchester City, Brighton, Manchester United, Everton, West Ham today. Tomorrow, Brentford, Fulham, Villa, Stoke, Liverpool, and Arsenal.
Okay, and I know Klopp and Guardiola have talked about not really fielding anything resembling first choice. We'll see if they do. I mean, the rest of the teams, look, that's a trophy for them too. So, I mean, they're going to go for it. When do the quarterfinals start?
Efforting.
They still had it. You can tell how important this tournament is by this. It's just, it is where it is. And when you're in this kind of season, it's already compressed. It's worthless. Quarterfinals, December 21st. Thanks, Captain. So you got time. We'll see how they manage it. These Europa League teams, these teams trying to get through qualifiers, we'll definitely see how they manage it. That's the challenge for a Tottenham right now. I think they'd rather be in Europa League than be in the quarterfinals of the Gummy Bear Cup, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Gummy Bear Cup is just their best chance at a trophy, so they're going to prioritize it a little bit more. Maybe they don't want those Thursday nights. If Mourinho can sell that to the fan base, it's not completely ridiculous, to be perfectly honest. Europa League can really drag teams down. So maybe it's a little bit of a subterfuge from Mourinho, who's been known to engage in some subterfuge in his career.
Nathan Pugh says, speaking of the Gummy Bear Cup, if Liverpool win on Thursday, then they will play every weekend and midweek until mid-January. That's mad!
Yeah.
Exclamation point.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Plucky upstarts and such who have a deep squad can handle it a little bit easier. But yes, you're doing a disservice to everybody involved. And I do wonder if this could be one of those weird years. I don't know if there's a team who's outside of the competitions in Europe that could take advantage. Leicester did the year they won the title. They were not playing in Europe. That helped them. I don't know if there's somebody who's not playing in Europe this season that can jump all the way up and take advantage of a Liverpool playing every weekend, every midweek until mid-January.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a team like that. Manchester City is going to be really gunning for the Champions League. Is there somebody who can take advantage? I haven't seen it yet. I don't know if it's there. It's Captain Ragamuffin, the Gummy Bear Cup, and yeah, this again speaks to its importance. The Carabao Cup, and full credit to Brian Dunseth of SiriusXM-FC for really running with the Gummy Bear Cup idea. Gets you into the third-tier European competition. So, yeah, it's not vital, except it's a trophy. And if you're Spurs, that's probably a little more meaningful than some others. But we'll find out. We'll see where the rest of this goes. At least they don't have to play in it again for a while. That'll help. But your Champions League teams will start playing midweek. FA Cup will get started for the smaller teams soon, for the bigger teams later. And that takes you to, another conversation that's going on, and we saw this play out in the last round in the Carabao Cup with Tottenham and with Leyton Orient. The Premier League is going to pay for the mandatory coronavirus testing for players in the EFL clubs that are involved in matches against Premier League teams in cup competitions. Because the EFL clubs, that's Championship, that's League One, that's League Two, that's second, third, and fourth division in England, they do not have to test at all, and they're not. The only times they are when they're playing a Premier League team in cup competition. And Tottenham paid for Leyton Orient's tests. They had a bunch of positive tests. They couldn't play. The Premier League, and this is from the Times, they're reporting that they're going to pay for the lower teams' testing in these situations. I'm blown away that the EFL can't afford at least what the USL is doing once a week. I'm really blown away from it. And it's incredibly risky. We have yet to see transmission through activity, one team to another team. We've yet to see that. I've not seen an update on Napoli's test results after playing Genoa, who had positive tests after the game. There is some disputed reporting in Ecuador about Independiente del Valle. Now, they have positive tests. They played Flamengo before Flamengo had positive tests, but it could be within the window when Flamengo had their positive tests later. Now, Barcelona, who played Flamengo after they had positive tests in Ecuador in Copa Libertadores, has not reported positive tests yet. So that's one that it's kind of like, well, can you prove it? Where is it? What does this stand for? We don't know yet. Both Independiente del Valle is in Brazil to play Flamengo today, and both teams will be missing players due to positive tests. Flamengo had a really weird situation over the weekend where if you go back to the beginning of all of this in Brazil, and we talked about it as they were starting to come back to play, and you had some teams that were really pushing hard to return to play before they really should have in those state competitions, where you had teams that were allowed to start training on Friday and they were going to have a game on Sunday. It was kind of crazy. Flamengo is one of the teams that was pushing hard to immediately return to play. Well, now they had an outbreak, and they were pushing hard for their match against Palmeiras this weekend to be postponed. So people said they were being hypocritical. Palmeiras, people said they were being hypocritical because it was the reverse. They were pushing hard not to play at the time and take their time in coming back in the return to action, and then they were pushing hard to play this match against Flamengo, and Flamengo having to miss players. They were not going to play, which is what I had thought was going to happen. And then, really, I think it was hours before the game, there was an injunction filed that they were going to play the match, and it ended up in a 1-1 draw, and Flamengo had to play with a bunch of reserve players. So Flamengo, IDV, tonight in Libertadores, both will be missing players due to coronavirus positive tests. But the England situation, I don't know. I mean, maybe the financial issues in the EFL across the board are worse than we thought. I can assume they would be for League One and League Two. Championship, I would think, would be able to do it, but maybe it's an all-for-one, one-for-all thing with EFL's rules here. They don't want to make a rule for the championship that others can't follow because they can't afford it. But if you can't afford it, I don't know if you can really be playing at the moment. I don't know. But the Premier League teams will pay for the testing in cup competition.
You mentioned League One, League Two. Grimsby Town, they have petitioned for, and this goes back to soccer over there, they petitioned for League Two to stop right now because they can't afford really to function, and they said it's £5,000 a week if they're going to be testing, and they're trying to petition the EFL to help pay for that testing, and they're having problems paying their bills, and then you're adding the idea of testing on top of it.
Well, they're not. No, let's not confuse it. They're not testing, right? They're not testing.
No, they're not.
So that they're not paying that right now. They can't pay their bills, correct?
Yeah, because they've had a player test positive, and they're trying to figure out, what the health situation is for the rest of their.
How did the player test positive? Do you know?
That's what I'm looking up right now.
Okay. Because they're not testing as a team. Look, this is not just a Grimsby Town situation where they don't know how to deal with this. Notre Dame football.
Yeah. Oh.
Which Notre Dame football has as many resources as any sports club, any sports franchise you can imagine. Their genius of a coach, Brian Kelly, did not seem to, I don't know what's going on outside my window. Brian Kelly did not seem to realize that having a normal team meal because you're back playing games is not a good idea at the moment. Imagine it. Can you imagine deciding, okay, you're going to do all this training, you're going to have these protocols, and you're going to have everything boxed up and take away meals and stuff. And then, we just want to do this. And they have an outbreak. So many of these outbreaks within teams are because of stupid decisions like that, where it's like, oh no, let's all hang out and do this and not be socially distanced and not do these things. Obviously, somebody was asymptomatic. You would hope that they weren't symptomatic in there. You would hope that they were asymptomatic, and it spread because you weren't following the protocols. The reason why you have the protocols on top of the testing is so, in case you have a bad test result, in case even testing 3 times a week, you could miss one. Somebody could catch it outside of the situation, bring it into the group, and if you're not following those protocols, you're going to have a spread. And they did. And it's incredible that you just go, oh yeah, we didn't know. We messed up there. We need to fix that. How are you running a multi-million-dollar organization? How? So this is happening with big teams. We saw it with the Miami Marlins. We saw it with the St. Louis Cardinals. We'll see about the NFL teams right now. But so much of it happens because of what happens inside the team and the way that they train, interact, travel, et cetera, et cetera. That's where the breakdowns happen. And in the Grimsby Town situation and in the EFL situation, if they're not even testing, I guess they're just waiting to see if somebody gets sick.
And that's what looks like happened with Curran. Missed training after showing symptoms of COVID-19, subsequently underwent a test, and now has been in isolation since.
Okay, so he got sick. They tested. He tested positive.
Right.
He's been in isolation. Is the team doing anything differently? Are they training? Are they? No,
they've had their next 2 matches postponed.
Okay.
In addition to the match last Saturday against Cheltenham.
So to try to clean this up, they now need to test their team.
Yes.
And they're saying we can't afford it.
Right.
So it's not about testing as a league. It's saying they need to test right now because they've had a player interact with their teammates who has tested positive, and they're saying they can't afford to test their team right now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big problem, and that's where you're at with the EFL. Jason Nick said, I haven't read the latest NFL stuff. Do they think that was transmitted across teams? They have tested the opposition in that. Man, it's so frustrating because there are people who you can see what outlet they're from and you can see what disinformation they're going to put out there. A doctor who talks about NFL injuries said, oh, well, it was a reserve player and it was this and it was a rotational guy. It's just a flat-out lie. It was a starter. One of the starters is one of the guys who tested as a defensive tackle. So that's where we get back to the whole question with American football is, do you have a situation on the line where you are putting players at risk? It's not like soccer. It's not like basketball. It's not like baseball where there's not that close contact without masks and inside of 6 feet. You're going to have that in the NFL, but do you have it for long enough for it to be a risk? I haven't seen test results back yet, Nix. So we'll keep an eye on that one. We'll keep an eye on everything with the Napoli and Genoa and other ones that pop up. As Bernd has told us, Red Bull Salzburg played Maccabi Tel Aviv, who had positive tests. Those players didn't play, but Red Bull Salzburg's been tested multiple times. They haven't had a positive come up yet. We haven't seen it transfer in a game yet. We haven't seen it in a soccer match. We'll see about this football situation. We'll see if they can figure out more with the Independiente del Valle Flamingo situation, if it is a coincidence or if it is because of transmission. We don't really know that yet. Burns said, I think we'll see, talking about competitions and just the craziness of all of it, Burns said, I think we'll see some MLS-like results in the European top leagues this year. Fixture compression is greater than the current roster sizes, and they don't have the roster limits that MLS does. Example A, Hoffenheim over Bayern. Fans in the EU are not used to this roller coaster. We'll see how it plays out. Yeah, it's going to be weird because, I mean, Hoffenheim beating Bayern got a big reaction, and you'd have to tell me, Bernd, what the reaction was in Germany and what the response was. It's one thing when you get an upset and that happens randomly. It's another when it becomes the norm of very inconsistent results. How do journalists react to that? How do fan bases react to that? I think you're right. I think you will see more fluctuation in results this year than ever before. I don't think you'll see any team with the point total that Liverpool had last year. I just don't think it'll be possible because, I mean, we've already seen it with Thiago. Like, you'll have players miss time because they'll test positive. People are going to test positive. That's just the world we're in right now. I mean, whatever you try to do, it's out there, and you're going to test positive. You're going to have players in your team test positive. You hope you're doing all the right things to where it doesn't spread easily. Don't have team meals like Notre Dame football, and don't do those things that are just... Don't do that, and maybe you'll be in a better situation and it'll be isolated, but you're going to have players miss time to that. You're going to have fixture compression. You're going to have players get injuries. You're going to have hamstrings. You're going to have quads. You're going to have calves. You're going to have those injuries that'll happen. There is no way around it with the fixture compression. You're going to have people get sick or at least test positive. There's no way around that because of the world we're in. You're going to have crazy results. There's just no way. I mean, is it going to be down to luck? Teams that just avoid injuries, teams that are playing less games, are they going to have a huge advantage? I don't know. We'll see. In England, I just don't know if there's a team that's not playing in Europe that can take advantage of the Liverpools, the Manchester Cities, the Manchester Uniteds, the Chelseas. I don't know if there's a team that can do that, but we'll find out.
I mean, the only one that came to mind really wasn't Everton, but I don't think that they would be up there in that 1-2. I think they would be in the European discussion from where they were last year, but I don't think they could be as high as like a 3 or a 4 or something like that.
Yeah, actually, they're a good call because they've had so many different new faces. They would maybe be the one that could be the surprise. They're probably best positioned to be that. I still don't think there's enough quality there. I think there's too big of a difference. But this year could be crazy. There's just no telling. Couple comments on the Twitch pitch before we get into Twitter. Ropes said, would football doctors and insiders not tell the truth about player safety? That seems unlikely. Sarcasm.
Yes.
I don't know what this guy's credibility was. I know the account because if you play fantasy football, like you're checking on people's injuries as you're getting ready for your weekend. So I knew the account, but the outlet that they are writing for has been the leading sports outlet that has been fighting against anything about taking this seriously. So there you go. Have fun with that one. And just a lie saying a player was not a star. I mean, it's even beyond like anything else. It's saying he's a rotation guy. It's like no, he's like the defensive captain.
Yeah, he rotates
starts
in every single offensive series from the sideline.
He starts and he's a defensive captain. But just saying. Burned about the reaction to Hoffenheim beating Bayern. The response in Germany was predictably about Bayern's high defensive line, Hoffenheim's great tactics, blah blah blah. The press did not go into the fact Bayern had to rest Lewandowski, Goretzka, and others. Bayern played 120 minutes on Thursday, and then again on Sunday afternoon. They were tired. They were. And they played the same way that they did, and, maybe that plays into it. But you can't just talk about the high defensive line if you don't talk about the fact they played 120 minutes on Thursday. They do reflect one another. So, these things are going to happen. The European matches are going to take more out of you this year. It's just it's going to be rough.
And the thing with the Super Cup for me, you're two teams and you're going to Budapest, Hungary to play in a midweek Super Cup match if you're Sevilla and Bayern, and then you're tied at the end of 90 minutes. So what are we going to have you do? We're going to have you play another 30.
Yeah, that's idiotic.
just go straight to penalties and get it done with. The last thing those guys want to do in a season like this, even if it is early on in the season, last thing I would want to do was spend another 30 minutes out there trying to figure out who's going to win the UEFA Super Cup.
Mm-hmm. Do we have anything on Twitter on our current set of topics?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nathan Pugh says, Dortmund, going to stand firm, yeah? Get that help from the show's Bundesliga correspondent. So I guess that's a call out to Bernd.
I'll have to see. I don't know. I need to dig deeper into the Bundesliga this year, because is this going to be the year that Bayern loses it? I don't think so. But can Dortmund be the ones that challenge them? Maybe.
Because what was Dortmund? What was Bayern? Because Bayern was 1-7 to win, and I think Dortmund was top 3 in trying to challenge, but it was
they've got to be.
It was a fairly decent sized number. It wasn't something. It's like 3-1. I mean, it was a decent sized number down the line.
Yeah, I mean, they play today in the German Super Cup. That's at 2:30. So that'll give us an early preview. The first time they meet in league play will be November 7th, and that will be at Dortmund. So we'll see. I would say that all of those teams, the Bayerns, the Juves, the Real Madrids, the Liverpools, the PSG, the champions from last year that won by good-sized margins, won't win by good-sized margins this year. I don't think that will happen. I do think it will be more random. Will somebody knock them off? They're going to need some luck. They're going to need luck. It could happen. It's one of those years where you could see injuries and match compression really affect the table at the end of the day. So, what else we got on Twitter?
Nathan is sipping his coffee from his Soccer Down Here mug this morning, picture enclosed.
Very nice.
Let's see. Oh, this was Chris Ashley. This is a food/drink discussion, my morning discussion here. He says he's going to need your thoughts on the idea of Coca-Cola with coffee. And apparently they have 3 flavors: caramel, dark blend, and vanilla.
You're guessing here, John. You're putting rampant speculation out there. You called it Coca-Cola with coffee.
Uh-huh.
So
I'm looking at the picture.
But you're just saying that they just took Coca-Cola and dumped coffee in it.
Or was it coffee and they dumped Coca-Cola in it?
Maybe it's something else. I have not seen it yet. I have not had it yet. Let's see. CNN had a story about it. July 31st. Coca-Cola with coffee. Will combine regular Coke with Brazilian coffee. Well, you're not too far off. 3 different flavors: dark blend, vanilla, and caramel. 12-ounce cans. 69 milligrams of caffeine per can. That's about almost double a normal can of Coke. I'll give it a shot because I've tried Coke stuff before when they come out with these weird things. Pepsi tried a Pepsi Cafe. I never saw it, so I
didn't either.
I don't like Pepsi in general. I did have. I knew they had done something before. In 2006, they did Coca-Cola Black, which was a coffee-flavored version of its signature drink. People didn't like it. It flopped. They dropped it after 2 years. So now they're saying that this works. They have done this in some international markets. It's got more real coffee than Coca-Cola Black did. More caffeinated as well. So I will give it a shot, and I will report back.
I will not give it a shot and defer to Jason.
Yeah, it's no surprise. The caramel one is the one that I'm going to go for first.
Okay.
Caramel first, then vanilla is the route that I'm going to go. And I will sign up right now so I know when it hits the streets.
Okay.
So I can report back on this.
And folks were wondering yesterday, because I couldn't remember what the actual terminology was for the pullover turnover thing that I was talking about
now
for breakfast.
Now it's a pullover?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, for those watching on Twitter, on Twitch, here it is. Here's what the boss has brought to the house. So this is what they are. It is officially referred to as a strawberry cheese pastry bite.
Strawberry cheese pastry bite. I've
And
had those.
It's a 2-bite thing for me. It's not a 1-bite thing.
Well,
so
yeah, that's you're getting into semantics there.
Well, but I mean, if you're going to do it, it's like, strawberry cheese pastry more than 1 bite, because it's not a...
That doesn't flow as well, John. Stop.
And, okay, and for the record, this particular box, the sell-on date, tomorrow.
It's not a sell-on date. You're not transferring it like a Neymar.
Sell-by.
There we go.
It's a sell-by date.
Good times.
Sell-by date is tomorrow. So we'll see how long it takes me to plow through this box.
Okay. Fun times with show and tell with John.
Well, but everybody wanted to know because I couldn't remember the actual terminology of this thing, and so I finally just brought it downstairs.
It doesn't have a name basically because that's just made up. So
yeah, it's a short rectangle that's got strawberry and cheese and sugar cube sections on top of it.
The apple one's better anyway.
Yeah, so. That's what that one was. So I felt compelled to bring that down just to show folks, because we got into the breakfast discussion yesterday about how I don't eat breakfast and all that kind of stuff.
But you do, you just don't think you do, but you then eat breakfast for dinner. So you're very confused when it comes to food. This is just known at this point.
Rich Ransom on the Jim Curtin discussion. He's catching up
from yesterday. Okay.
Yes, he says he's catching up. He says Union fans did not like him from Curtin making some terrible coaching decisions while being at the helm of some very bad Union teams between 2014 and 2018. It changed around mid-2019 due to him, 1, winning, 2, Ernst Tanner arriving and giving him the tools he needed and letting him coach how he wanted to, which
also
previous gyms did not let him do. So 3, however, I don't think Curtin will leave, at least not to Europe, maybe a USMNT position. Curtin's a Philly guy who's been with the club since its inception in 2010, he'll want to see the project through. And that catches us up on Twitter.
Absolutely he will. And I'm not saying he'll leave anytime soon. I'm saying that, what Rich says, he won't work at another MLS job. He won't go to Red Bulls or he won't go to Cincinnati. Like if he works in MLS, it's going to be at Philly. He's a Philly guy. The national team or something in U.S. soccer would be the most likely place for him to move to when and if that happens. But I do think he could manage in Europe. He has the ability to manage in Europe, and I think that would be more appealing than chasing a different MLS job when the time comes that he leaves Philly, because it'll come. Yeah. I don't think he will be. Well, he won't be Peter Vermees because he doesn't have that kind of power. But I think at some point that project will be done, and he'll look for the next thing, and it'll be either Europe or it'll be something in the Federation. I just have a lot of respect for him as a manager, and if you haven't seen it, I think it might be available on the free side now. But if you go to our website, the Coach's Voice Academy is a really good sign up if you coach or if you're just interested in learning more about coaching. They had a good Q&A with Jim Curtin. I think it went 2 parts, about 25, 30 minutes total. And a lot of good insight on the way he sees the game, like what he's done in his career to get to this point, things like that. My respect went up for him in a big way, watching that and getting to hear him talk about the game a little bit more. So I think he's got the ability. I think he's got the mindset. We'll just see if it comes together. Talking about the Bundesliga, Burns says, it'll depend on whether Bayern can deepen the roster. Right now, they may not be deep enough to survive all the competitions. RB Leipzig have the deepest roster, but they're really young. Probably still Bayern, which is kind of where I'm at, too. Bern doesn't think they can repeat Champions League. If they take a hit, if they get concerned either way, they will sacrifice Champions League for the Bundesliga. The league title, maybe the Bundesliga league title has the most importance to the teams in that competition compared to the other leagues. Real Madrid, obviously, Champions League has been a massive thing for them. City, we know they're going to go after Champions League because they've got some league titles. We know what Champions League means to Liverpool as well, although they do have their league title now. Maybe they would go for the Champions League again a little bit more. Juve, we know how bad they need the Champions League. Bayern's a little different. I think they would value the league title more than those other clubs. So I'm with Bernd. I don't think they can repeat in Champions League. That's where it'll take a hit. This Coke with Coffee thing, Domer says that's called a hometown at Brother Moto. One of the best coffee houses in Atlanta. It's Mexican Coke with 2 shots of espresso and vanilla extract. It's basically liquid crack. That sounds pretty good, Domer. I might have to go check that out. Mizano says he's seen the Coke Energy, but not the Coke and Coffee. Yeah, the Coke and Coffee is not out yet. The Coke Energy is really good. I like the cherry one far better than the regular one, although the regular one's fine too. The cherry Coke Energy is great. It's great. But this Coke Coffee thing, I'm going to give it a shot because, I'm an Atlanta guy and I'm loyal to the Coca-Cola brand and all that stuff. And I like my different energy drinks. I like to try them. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. The Coke Energy is comparable to Red Bull for me. Red Bull's still the go-to. The watermelon Red Bull is still the best one. The cherry Coke Energy is better than most Red Bull flavors for me. Not all of them. The watermelon Red Bull is still the bomb, but it's close. Let's see. Domer says his favorite from Brother Moto is the Lemonator, which is a lemonade brewed with coffee instead of water. Thought it would be disgusting, but it is damn delicious. That's bizarre. Wow, I'm going to have to think about this one. Going back to craziness with leagues, Abby says you can't guarantee any team definitely winning a league or tournament this year with the craziness of the schedules. Injuries will occur. Players will be out, and I would agree. J-Dub Parker's calling your pastries mini Danishes, which is good.
Yeah.
Tad Dooley says you providing evidence that your food is in date is concerning. It is.
Would you rather me not? Hey, yeah, I'm eating 3-week-old Danishes and not telling anybody.
I mean, if you are going to do that, that's on you, man. I don't need an update. That's on you.
No, but if for some reason I'm not doing the show in the morning, and you'll know why.
Well, I would hope that you could handle these sorts of things, but maybe we do need to have a check-in on John's food dates on a regular basis. I
think so.
To make sure. I wish we didn't, but maybe we do.
I think we do.
5 Takes says we need a report on Carabao Energy and how that tastes. Looks like you can buy it on Amazon.
Ah, okay.
Man, I'm not going to have to try the
Yeah, I think
Carabao.
So. You're going to have to go gummy bear.
Well, it's not gummy bears. All right, we'll think about this 5 Takes, and we'll give a report back. Brother Moto hasn't reopened yet since the pandemic started, so cannot have their hometown. I'll have to try that out. Burned has already got the flow of how things can work out. So Sebastian Hoeneß, who is at Hoffenheim, could go to Bayern when Hansi Flick leaves at some point. Then Jesse Marsch can move into Hoffenheim, which would make a lot of sense because the style of play, the club's mentalities, that works. And then Jim Curtin would go to Red Bull Salzburg, which would all flow really well. Burns got it all figured out. I like it.
Jason Heinley wants to know what's the sugar level for in the Coke and Coffee.
Let's see. I think I already got rid of the page. Probably high.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Coca-Cola. I'm just assuming it's probably high. Yeah. Shooter is disgusted. He says Coke and Coffee, that is repulsive.
Well, and
I'll let you know, Shooter.
Well, and I mean, for me, it would probably have to be the vanilla one that I would taste first, just because of liking vanilla Coke, and then you're sitting there and thinking, okay, you could play that idea into the notion of Coke with coffee. AFC Champions League update: 5th minute, Al Nassr and Al Ahly are scoreless in the quarterfinal. PT Martinez starting for Al Nassr.
Oh, very nice. And it's not the quarterfinals of the whole competition; it's the quarterfinals of the West region. There's an East region with the Japanese and South Korean teams and all that. That'll be later in the year. Mizzano's getting hit by the auto moderator. Sorry, Mizzano. I thought I approved it, but maybe I didn't approve it fast enough. That's my bad. I'm not a fan of Monster Ragamuffin. Don't spread vicious rumors.
Like I said, Monster Rehab for me is about the limit.
No, that's gross. Shooter says, I'm with John. I just do until my eyes are bloodshot.
Attaboy.
That's true. Domer says, John, do you check the date on your Twinkies?
I don't eat Twinkies.
You don't eat Twinkies? I don't like Twinkies either. I never really did.
No, I mean, I did when I was a kid, and then you just kind of you kind of reach that point where you're just tired of it, and so maybe it's because of ODing on them as a kid.
Never liked them. The cupcake variant from Hostess was what I liked more than the
Ding Dong?
Twinkies. No, the actual cupcakes.
Oh, the cupcakes.
Just the real cupcakes. Five Take says you're going to eat an expired Danish and have to pull an Eric Dyer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Badger wondered if Eric Dyer had too much Carabao before the Carabao Cup match yesterday, which is possible.
That is possible.
Matt Wagner brings us back on track. So he says, I know this could be over the top, but I really don't like having normal championships this year in any sport, not just MLS Cup. This doesn't seem like things are held equal with previous years. You can't in 2020, but still. I think with MLS specifically that another mini tournament would be better. When most teams won't play each other, it just doesn't seem fair. I know what you're saying, and I know what you're getting at, and you're not the only one who's said stuff like this, Matt. It's been something. Baseball went through this in a big way when a 60-game instead of a 162-game schedule was announced. The NFL hasn't really had any effect outside of not having fans in the stands. They playing the schedule that they had set up, and they started on time.
Yep.
College football is very different with the Big Ten and the Pac-12 starting later, and we'll see what happens with them. And it's who knows. The NBA finished their season, although the playoffs are different. I think people have embraced it, and there hasn't been that feeling. I didn't get the sense of that with the NHL. Like, they finished it. It didn't feel like the championship was diminished in any way. MLS is going to be very different than a normal season would be. I'm not a fan of the asterisk because it's going to be hard to win it. Like, it's a different kind of hard, but it's not going to be easy to win the thing. It's not like you get a cakewalk to win the championship this year. So you have to give credit for winning it. But yeah, it's very different. Like, Supporter Shield means nothing to me because of the way the schedules worked. Basically, you're playing games to get seeded for a mini tournament is the way that I look at it. You're playing games to get seeding for the playoffs, and the playoffs are a mini tournament, and it's one and done. That's it. I think that's the only way you can really look at MLS this season. You have to play, and we've had these conversations about the financial components. You have to play, or you're going to be in big trouble financially. You're already in trouble financially. As we have the dogs squeaking outside the window now. Good times. This is a fun day. John, I think you turned your microphone off.
I did.
Good times.
I think the folks that you had starting your day doing the yard work are now.
No, they weren't doing yard work. They were making other weird things. Anyway, it's weird. It's going to be a weird year, but I don't really know what the alternative would be. I don't think there is one. So you make the best of it. In MLS, for me, seriously, it's just get into the postseason.
Yeah.
It's just get in and see what happens. That's about all you can do. Shooter from New England says, I'll take an asterisk cup. Who gives a damn? That's accurate if you're the New England Revolution and you've been really, really close many, many, many times and you get a chance to win the trophy this year, you ain't giving it back.
Nope.
You are not giving that thing back.
Does anyone know what's going on here?
We're figuring it out, Bruce. We're figuring it out as we go.
Daniel Price says, I heard that to you. I heard that you like Monster better than Red Bull. Wow,
that's not true. That's nonsense. It's vicious lies and rumors, and it's not accurate. It is not accurate at all. Uncle No Pockets asked if Moreno has arrived in Atlanta yet. I don't believe so. I believe, and Darren spoke on 92.9 The Game, and Mike Conti's going to join us in 10 minutes, and we'll get some more commentary on what Darren said on Dukes and Bell yesterday. But Darren did mention the Gonzalo Higuain situation and said that he would be pushing MLS to allow Moreno to play quicker, like Miami did with Higuain. But I'm assuming they're trying to avoid that situation that Higuain dealt with and didn't break rules. The rule was broken. We didn't do the 10-day quarantine on the other side of having to come and then go back to get the P1 visa and then come back. I think they're getting the visa and then he's coming to join the team. That's my understanding of the timeline that's going to happen. We'll see if there was any more on that from yesterday with Darren. Burns says, I feel bad for teams winning championships right now. Tampa Bay winning the Stanley Cup. Nobody there to see it. I mean, there's no other option. That's true. It is different. It would have a different feel if you win it. You wouldn't get to celebrate it in the same way. It'd be very strange. But it is what it is.
Well, but I also think that in some forms that it probably means a little more in certain spheres because of everything that you've had to go through to get to that point, to get through a bubble scenario to win a championship. So I think that it might mean more in certain aspects than it would in others when you're fighting through all this stuff to win a title.
Yeah, that's what's weird about it is, I mean, in some ways it's one of the hardest championships you can win. I mean, like the NBA title this year, good grief. I mean, those guys are going to be in the bubble for the Lakers and Heat are going to be in there. I mean, what? It feels like the MLS bubble was forever ago, and they came in midway through the MLS bubble, and they're still there, and they're into the finals now.
NHL was 63 days from beginning of bubble till last game.
NBA will be longer than that, I think. It'll have to be, yeah, because they played games before they got into the playoffs. So, yeah, it's in the NBA, for me, it's almost harder to do it. Now, you don't have to deal with the, going and playing, in the other team's arena. That is leveled out, but just what you're having to deal with being in the bubble and the struggles with it, I think it's not an asterisk and a negative. I think it might be an asterisk and a positive. Now, MLS is going to be different because your schedule of competition is very different. Your season's shorter. You're going to have a couple more teams in the postseason, although I don't know if that's going to make a difference in who gets to the final. But it's going to be harder in a lot of ways, too, because you have the day of the game travel. You have the compressed schedule, which creates challenges with injuries. So you can argue it both ways. I don't think Matt's saying like they shouldn't play. It's just I don't think there's another alternative, and it just is what it is. I don't think a mini tournament would have done enough for them financially to do a second tournament separately, like a second bubble tournament. I don't think they could have done that and had it make sense. So they're trying to make the best of it and move forward. And as we see with the EFL and with other leagues, like, these clubs have to do that. I mean, Manchester United is going to have their end-of-the-year figures middle of October. According to ESPN, they've already lost out on more than £75 million in revenue. They could be reporting a £100 million loss. Match day income, that's costing them £4 to $5 million per game with no fans. They've already got 7 games behind closed doors. Would have had 2 more in the Europa League if it had been normal. You're having to pay back the rebate on broadcasters. That's going to hit next year. That's about £20 million.
Yep.
You didn't get to do a preseason tour, which would have generated about £10 million. So that's a big club that can maybe afford that. Smaller big clubs can't, and smaller clubs definitely can't. And everybody's trying to figure out the best way to bring in whatever revenue you can.
Jason Heinley with a question. He says, what if Atlanta United snuck into the playoffs, then won it all? Would we all be happy?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you're not, you're just looking for a reason to be miserable. I'm sorry, but if you win a championship in any way, especially one of these crazy years, you better be happy. Like, I don't know how you would look at it and not be happy.
Yeah.
Would people maybe use it to continue narratives if they want to? Sure, because they're going to find a way to continue a narrative no matter what. But, yeah, that'd be silly to diminish your own championship.
And I mean, think of the Stanley Cup in years past where you've had an 8 seed come in and win the whole thing.
Yeah, but that's not what the question is.
But what I'm saying is that if you're in and you sneak in as that bottom seed and you win it all, of course the fans are going to be happy that you won.
But that's not what the question is. The question, I think, is combining a little bit of Matt's question, too, of in a year like this and you do that, would that make it all okay? Saying that it's not as hard to do in a year like this, which I would push and say it's actually harder. If you just get in, you get in.
Yeah.
You get in, you win the thing, you do it. Shooter says Tampa has the most talent in the NHL. They won. It's hard to discredit them. Is that accurate?
Yeah. No, I mean, they did it without Steven Stamkos, who only played 3 minutes in one game.
Said, yeah. Yeah,
so,
see, I'm not up on my NHL, so I'm going to take y'all's word for that one.
Yeah, no, it's they were solid. They were the number one seed, and they got past the team that beat them in the first round last year in Columbus, and worked their way through. Made a couple of key acquisitions, kind of twisted how their team was constructed, made them a little more physical, a little more gritty, and they with this new look Lightning, John Cooper wins a title. So no, it's and I think that in a year like this, regardless of the sport, I think that there should be a deeper appreciation for winning the title because of everything that you've had to go through to get there.
5 takes with a point that we'll finish hour number 1 on. Speaking of finances, I'm really concerned for clubs going into 21. I feel like that's when the financial losses are really going to be felt. It's not like COVID is going to be totally gone in 4 to 5 months and normal life resumed. It's going to be a long time for clubs to go without their regular revenue. The Manchester United situation, Serie A is saying that they've lost more than €500 million, almost $600 million due to the pandemic. The issues with leagues expecting to get fans back in the building and now not being able to. The Netherlands pulled back on that. Italy, the proposal to allow more spectators going past the current limit of 1,000 spectators. That was rejected. Matchday revenues in Italy are 11%. They're higher in a lot of other leagues. It is going to affect it. Byrne says Schalke's financial results just came out. Revenue for the first half of 20 was down €50 million. It was 100 million instead of 150 million. So that's for 6 months. That I think 5 takes. We're going to see the effects a little bit more in 21 as teams have to grapple with this.
Yeah.
I think we're going to maybe hear about these effects first, but we're going to see how they play out in 21 when teams have to cut back and make moves to try to either recoup or cut spending because of the effects of this. And you're right in that now I think the spotlight is really on a lot of this, that, okay, the idea that you were going to be able to get fans back in October, November, and it was going to start to feel like normal on the revenue side, that's not happening. When that happens, I don't know now. I think La Liga has said they're not expecting fans in the building until January at the earliest. I don't know. It's going to be different country by country, but I don't know what it looks like for revenues to get back to something resembling normal. I mean, there's a break-even number for a lot of teams that have been making money that they can lose some right now and they can deal with it. There's not a lot of teams that make a lot of money. So the ones that don't, it's how long can they afford the losses that they're hitting right now.
Yeah.
And what steps are they going to have to take in the meantime? And that's going to mean people are cut from clubs, front offices. That's going to mean that some of the extra spending, in terms of performance stuff, could get cut. Scouting could get cut. You're going to have to streamline things. Rosters could get cut. Could open up doors for academy kids to get time because they have to, but it's going to be madness worldwide. And we might not see all of the effects in this window. We might not even see them in the January window. I think by the time you get to the end of next season, the next summer window could be absolutely wild. Before we get Mike on the line, John, why don't you tell us about our good friend Steve Apolinsky over in Decatur, GA?
I could do that. Apolinsky & Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. Wrongful death and serious injury attorneys. This is a conversation that you need to have. A couple different ways that you can do it with Apolinsky & Associates. You can shoot Steve an email directly, steve@aa-legal.com. You can give him a call and get a free consultation at 404-377-9191, or go to the website, aa-legal.com. You hit enter, you hit the arrow on whatever device you're using, whatever advances the screen and gets you their homepage. Pop-up window pops up because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up. Conversation 24/7, 365 with the individual on the other end of that pop-up window. You can answer questions that way. So there are 3 different ways that you can have your questions answered when it comes to wrongful death and serious injury matters. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in Georgia and Alabama, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine as one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia, SDH HQ. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, one location, and that station is aa-legal.com.
Nicely done.
Stumbled at the end.
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
Had like 9 different ideas in my head, and they all came out simultaneously.
That's kind of difficult.
Yes.
All right, let's get Mike Conti on the line. We'll see if Ralph, our virtual producer today, can get it done. As everything gets weird, I think. There we go. What's up, Mike?
Guys, what's up? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's going on?
Not too much. We've been getting into all kinds of different things this morning. I'll start with this one to throw at you from Matt Wagner on the Twitch pitch. Just talking about the different leagues, the different competitions, and, the legitimacy isn't the word that Matt used, but I don't know if there's a better one about championships right now. And I think in some competitions, some leagues, it's absolutely legitimate. There's no question about it. And in some ways, it's harder. And in others, it's very different what a championship means in 2020. MLS will be one of those. Like, the trophies are going to have different meanings this year. At least Supporters' Shield will, for sure. There's no way around that one.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, the Supporters' Shield, I would almost say it's not even worthy of being awarded this year, to be just because there's no balance to the schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, you could have, I'll just pull up their schedule right now. I mean, Columbus is...
We're working on this, guys, if you're still with me on the Twitch pitch. There we go. Go ahead, sorry.
You got me?
Yeah, I think you disconnected me.
Oh, wow! I didn't know I could do that.
I didn't know you could either until it happened.
Yeah. So I mean, you're looking at a situation where Columbus could win the Supporters' Shield without playing. Now, oddly, they did play Seattle earlier this year, so that might be a somewhat unusual example. But you could have Columbus win the Supporters' Shield without having played Kansas City, without having played LAFC, without having played. Portland without having played, really any contending team in the West. And then even in the Eastern Conference, I mean, I'm trying to scan through their schedule as quickly as I can while I'm talking to you. You even have a situation where you aren't playing every team in your own conference. So I don't know. Supporters' Shield to me, I don't know how you can award that trophy if you have such imbalance in the schedule. As far as the Cup is concerned, I feel like that's a little bit different. In fact, I think in some ways it might even be harder to win the Cup because you're playing additional playoff rounds. You have more knockout games.
Sure.
I know a lot of people have been trying to cast aspersions on the Tampa Bay Lightning, saying, well, there's got to be an asterisk on this Stanley Cup because they didn't play a road game. Well, they didn't play a home game either. And they have to play an extra round of the playoffs. And you were playing teams that were rested and didn't have injuries because you have the stoppage in the season. In my opinion, that makes it even harder to win the championship. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't think there's any lack of validity to the MLS Cup playoffs this year at all. Supporters' Shield, absolutely, because you just don't have a representative sample. It's like the discussion that we have in college football every year where, we put the Big Ten in the playoffs, but the Big Ten teams didn't play the SEC and the non-conference schedule, so we don't really know how good the Big Ten is, and then the Big Ten goes into the playoffs and they get shellacked. It's and I say that as a Big Ten guy. Mm-hmm. Unless you are playing a true round robin, I just don't think you can award a Supporters' Shield this year. They will. They will do it, and I'm sure whoever wins it will claim it. But it's not the same.
Well, and Mike, we were talking about it, and we were talking about before you came on about the NBA playoff and about the Stanley Cup final and the Stanley Cup playoffs, that I think that it could mean that much more in some cycles and in some circles of conversation because of everything that you've had to do to get to that point. Because with the National Hockey League, it was 63 days from showing up in the Stanley Cup playoffs to Game 6 of the Stanley Cup final. Jason says that, with his math, the NBA is going to be a lot longer to determine a champion. So I would think that because of all of this that these teams have had to go through, that it could mean more. And I know that just as many people will sit there and put asterisks, but I think that it could mean that much more considering our current situation.
Yeah, and I think the same thing with baseball, too. I mean, again, you only had a 60-game regular season, but you have 16 teams in the playoffs with no margin for error in this first round because it's the best 2 out of 3. Again, I think that makes it harder. Plus, you don't have the advantage of playing in front of home fans. Again, I think that makes it harder. So, no, I am not about the asterisk for, anyone who wins their respective playoff this year in any league anywhere in the world. I am for asterisks when you have trophies signifying the winner of a competition in which not everyone played each other.
Yep. Just announced by the Blank Foundation and Atlanta United. The Atlanta United Foundation and the Local Initiatives Support Corporation are partnering for GA100. It's a statewide mini pitch campaign with the goal of constructing up to 100 mini pitches across the state of Georgia leading up to the 2026 World Cup. This month, in September, 4 grants were awarded in Phase 1. The Cherokee Youth Foundation, Coastal Outreach Soccer, Sweetwater Mission, and the Bainbridge Decatur County Recreation Authority, they will begin construction on mini pitches. Applications are now open for Phase 2. They're going to award 16 more grants in Phase 2. The goal is providing underserved communities in Georgia with financial and technical assistance to improve the quality, safety, and accessibility of local mini-pitch soccer fields. I retweeted the information. You can get more on it, atlutd.com/Georgia-100. Mini pitches, we're talking like 5-a-side kind of fields, a little bit bigger than a basketball court. Probably a lot of these might replace basketball courts or tennis courts that aren't getting used. Pretty cool, and the 4 that they've awarded here in Phase 1, that's all over the state. I mean, that's not just looking at the metro area, which would be easy, and I would assume there will be mini pitches built in the metro Atlanta area. That's all over the state. That's pretty amazing.
I love hearing that. I really do. I think, we talk about next steps for the club and building their brand, and this is a big part of it where, they're really firmly ingrained in metro Atlanta. Now you've got to make it a big brand across the state. And maybe, in companionship with, say in South Georgia, you work with Tormenta to do something like this. Mm-hmm. And, up in Dalton, Northwest Georgia, maybe you work with Chattanooga Red Wolves on something like this, in companionship with other established clubs. But no, I love to see that. I think that's great. And I think it's something that Arthur and Darren and the front office have been very, very conscious of. And look, I mean, it's not a coincidence that when they do have 70,000 capacity games, that they do them on weekends when people can drive 3 or 4 hours to come in for a match.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that makes up a large percentage of those crowds, but it makes up a noticeable fraction. So really cool to see. Awesome project. Yeah,
I think it's so important to the long-term growth of the club, of the sport in the state, of potentially the academy. I mean, and there's so many elements to it. Playing on many fields, and this was something that, Soccer in the Streets was working on before I started working with them, taking old tennis courts and basketball courts and turning them into soccer courts. And, it started with one in East Point and turning that into a soccer court, but with like a court surface, then Sandy Springs, and then the court surface became turf, and they got to the point with station soccer that they were able to take it to a whole nother level. It's roughly those kind of size of pitches, but 5-a-side play for me, is so important in developing the right skill sets because it can create a different kind of player. And maybe some of this, I don't know what it is. It shouldn't even be a conversation, but some of this about maybe not understanding a player like a Pity Martinez and Ezequiel Barco, those skilled players, the reason why they have the skills that they do is they played in tight spaces like this. They played in, it didn't look like one of these courts is going to be built that's nice. They might have played in a side lot. They might have played in a street. They might have played in whatever little patch of land they could find. And that's how they grew up playing. And you develop the skill on the ball in tight spaces. It's so important.
And I think there's another, aspect of it as well, Jason, where, from a player development standpoint, all your points are valid. But I remember as a little kid thinking, man, I don't want to run 100 yards in each direction for 45 minutes or 60 minutes or 90 minutes. I don't want to do all that running. Whereas when we played on the schoolyard and we could make our own dimensions, it much more resembled a mini pitch where, there was still running, but it just felt like the game was more approachable.
Yeah, because you can play 2v2, 3v3, whatever you have.
Exactly right. If you can only gather 5 other kids to play a pickup game, well, you can do that on a mini pitch. So I think just as far as introducing the game and inspiring kids to play it, this is a great way to do it. It's far less intimidating than going to the county park and looking at goals that are 100 yards apart. So from that standpoint, I think hopefully it's really going to help inspire kids to try to play pickup soccer. And hopefully, even if just one of those kids decides that through that pickup experience, they want to pursue the game and learn more about it and play it more frequently, then I think it's a success.
Well, and that's the cool thing about everything that we've seen from Atlanta United, the Blank Foundation, Arthur Blank as an owner. It's the growth of the game, not just in Atlanta, not just here in the state of Georgia, where, with this particular initiative, you're looking at Coastal and Sweetwater and Bainbridge and Cherokee. It's the growth on the whole, and to where you can expose a kid from southeastern Alabama and the Florida Panhandle to what's going on in Bainbridge. You can expose a kid in South Carolina to what's going on in the coastal region of the state of Georgia. You can expose a kid in Tennessee to come down and see what's going on in the Cherokee area and with Sweetwater too. So it's a part of growing the game, not just in the Atlanta area or in the ADI. It's about that footprint and growing the whole thing here in the Southeast. And I think that's great to see that vision is there as a continuation of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, there's the brand awareness component of it as well. This will really help. I mean, there are things that I would like to do from a media side that I think could help grow Atlanta United's brand across the state. It's a process and it's complicated and it involves many legal hurdles, but I think it can be done. I think the more that you see that logo across the state, the better. And this is going to help. I'm sure the logo will, if these are artificial surfaces, I have to think they will.
I don't know if all of them will be. I need to dig into the application side of it. I think you could go depending on the situation because, just glancing at it real quick, you can have a school that can apply here. It can be a community-based organization. It could be a Parks and Rec. So I think you'll see some sport court kind of surfaces that are not turf. Yeah. You'll see some turf. Right. It'll be a variety, and that's good. I think it's whatever you can make work.
The Hawks did the sport court thing.
Yeah.
And my point is you're going to see the logo in places you haven't seen it before.
Absolutely.
You're going to stitch it into the turf or you're going to paint it on the sport court. I think the sport court would actually be pretty hot. Can you imagine a red, black, and gold sport court with, that logo, at the halfway line? I think it would look beautiful.
U.S. Soccer's done that with their partnership and with Sport Court, and some of the other MLS foundations have done them in team colors, and that's pretty cool. You could definitely do that. It's cheaper. It's cheaper than artificial turf.
The thing about the sport courts, too, like if the whole goal is to get kids to play, kids are not going to be slide tackling. I would hope not. I don't think they're going to be doing
they'll just
reckless things that would put them at risk of injury because they're, diving and sliding and all of that. I mean, you're basically just trying to get them to play pickup, kick it around a little bit and not do anything, rash as far as tackles or anything are concerned. And heck, I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I mean, we'd play street hockey, we'd play street soccer.
Oh, yeah.
And we wouldn't tackle. It was just basically pass, shot. And that was a lot of fun. And it was very safe, and I don't think I have any broken burns or scars to show for it.
I might have a couple from my pickup sports days, but that's okay. That's all right. You are teaching the game differently. And,
right.
Small-sided soccer in general. That's why American youth soccer, organizations have went to, instead of playing like they used to at U10, playing 11 aside, it's 7 aside or 8 aside or 9 aside, depending on the organization. Small-sided, you're playing in tighter spaces. It makes more sense for stuff like this, where it's a lot of pickup is what you're trying to create, but also have some programming to support it, because a lot of these organizations will do a little of both. It sets a platform up to help create a certain type of player. And it's a type of player that has not been embraced in this country enough. And this is the really under-the-radar element of this. First, it's getting a place for kids to play, because there's not a lot of places for kids to play, period, right now. So this is getting kids an ability to go play and to go make their own game and to be able to develop leadership skills like we did when we were growing up in the neighborhood. It's like, all right, hey, we're going to play football today. You're a captain, pick teams, let's go. Now it's hard because kids don't have that opportunity to take on leadership roles like that. But from a soccer perspective, the really under-the-radar element is this can create a culture, because Atlanta's doing it, the U.S. Soccer Foundation's doing it, other MLS teams, other USL teams, other clubs are creating these kinds of spaces, and it can create a new generation of American players who are comfortable on the ball in a tight space. They're not just going to blast it long. They're not going to be the Richard Keys power guy. They're going to actually try to play and control the ball and just embrace having the ball at your feet, not be afraid of it. And that's something that's needed. And to have enough of these, and it's going to take a lot across the whole country to change that personality of player, but the process is underway. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, another aspect to it that was non-existent or just in its bare infancy when we were growing up, the three of us, and don't underestimate the impact that this has, is FIFA, the video game.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, we kind of had it a little, but not to the extent that it exists now. And I know it sounds very weird, but I think in the case of a lot of kids, it's playing FIFA and then wanting to take that next step to maybe try to play it themselves.
But we see that in NASCAR.
100%. Yeah. And look, I mean, I think we can all relate to this as kids. For me, it was play Blades of Steel. Okay, now I want to play hockey myself. Oh, well, I can't skate. Well, then I'll play street hockey. I think that's a big part of it, too. I mean, kids now, and I'm talking about really young kids, they're being exposed to the sport in different ways than we were exposed to it initially. And I think, Jason, your first exposure to it's probably a lot different than John's. John's is a lot different than mine. Mine came from my parents enrolling me in U6 games in Southeast Pennsylvania. Because they just wanted to get me out of the house and enroll me in a team sport, and soccer was most convenient. For you guys, it might have been a little bit different. But I think now, for this generation, it's totally different because there's so many games on TV, whereas it was impossible, almost impossible, when I was a kid to find a soccer game on TV in this country. Now there are so many matches on TV, and the kids are playing FIFA. Whereas when I was a kid, we were playing Duck Hunt and Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
So, you get the exposure now. You get that soccer fire burning, smoldering a little bit with the way that these kids are exposed to matches now. And this is going to give them a vehicle to apply themselves in a more physical way on a mini pitch. I think it's great. I think it's the next thing we need to do now is fire up the Atlanta United Caravan and start making stops at the Ovalport Mall and the Waycross Mall and the whatever the mall's called in Macon. Like let's do the Caravan now, and maybe we can get a player or two to do a skills demonstration, and we can do some keepy-uppy games and things like that. And that might be what it takes post-pandemic, is to do a little bit of grassroots marketing. Something that, this club really hasn't had to do up to this point. But I think the complexion of everything's going to be dramatically different once this pandemic is over. And some of that grassroots outreach, I think, could be very, very effective and very, very successful.
Yeah, because you go out into these communities and you sit there and you reinforce that, hey, we're here with you. We've gone through this with you. We're all going through this together. Let's all, let's all be on the same page. Let's all go through this whole thing together forward. And to see those folks that you're watching on television, to see those stars that you're gravitating toward, if you're a U6, a U8, a U10, a U12, to see those guys up close and personal, where you can interact with them, to sit there and say, okay, they're a person just like me too, going through this. To have that kind of shared experience, I think, would be huge.
Well, I mean, just a personal anecdote. A friend of mine was with his daughter in the Orlando airport a couple days ago. His daughter plays soccer, and they bumped into Julie Foudy. And a week later, they're still talking about it. Those kinds of personal connections are lasting, and they do make an impact. And, the Braves have had a lot of you tend to see the Caravans more in Major League Baseball. I know the Pirates used to do it for a long time. The Braves, I think, did it this year, or now they're doing something at the Battery to take the place of the Caravan. But I think it's something that you're probably going to have to start considering now, because
it's funny. It's an old school idea that really makes sense today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think here's the reality, guys. Right now, fans are unable to attend matches. Okay, we, the storytellers of the team, don't have access to the team because of the protocols. So I think there is this feeling of disconnection right now. And this is not just an Atlanta United thing. I think this is all the pro sports teams in Atlanta and probably all the clubs in MLS, where we're feeling disconnected right now because we can't go to games. And the people that link you to the teams are not able to be around the teams.
Yeah.
So there's this real feeling of disconnection. And I think once we get the all clear, pandemic-wise, whenever that happens, you're going to have to, even the clubs that are very successful, like Atlanta United, are going to have to do things that maybe they didn't think they would have to do before to help restore those connections. And I think this is one of them. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. But again, the larger point, this goes back to my original point. I'm glad that the club is thinking about building their brand, not just within Metro Atlanta, but in the entire state.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, I've been down to Savannah a few times since I took the job. Heck, I've been to Orlando a couple times just on vacation. You see a lot of people in South Georgia and North Florida wearing Atlanta United gear. And it's maybe I just notice it because of my connection to the team. But I'll tell you, just in my unscientific survey of what I've seen, and then this is even traveling with the Hawks, and I've been around the southeastern United States a lot, over the last couple of years up until this past March. You see more people wearing Atlanta United gear than Falcons or Hawks gear.
Yep. And as someone who travels the state and goes to towns that are south of the Nat line a lot, and outside of that, you see a lot of. The other day I was outside the city of Atlanta, and someone was wearing a Miguel Almiron jersey.
Yeah, it's pretty stunning, to be honest with you, and there could be a number of reasons for that. I think, again, you don't have the same kind of regional competition that, say, the Falcons might have with the Panthers, the Jaguars, the Buccaneers. I hate to say it, even the Saints. I think there are a lot of people in Southwest Georgia who, for whatever reason, attach themselves to the Saints.
WWL.
Yeah. Well, hey, I work for that station, and that is true. But my point is, it exists. So now you got to strengthen those bonds. You got to strengthen those connections. You can't take it for granted. I don't think the club takes it for granted, by the way. I want to be very clear about that. But you got to make it stronger now. So I know we've gotten on a long discussion about this, but it just goes back to my point again.
No, but
I'm really, like when you said that they're doing something on the coast, that really made me smile. I'm really, really glad to see that. Nothing would make me happier than to find out that they're doing this in Tifton and in LJ.
They will.
And in, Warner Robins and in Albany. Nothing would make me happier than to hear that, because this team has the capability of equaling the level of passion that we have in Metro Atlanta for this team across the entire state.
Yeah, I think the trick is going to be building those personal connections. And it's something that, I think Georgia football might still do a little bit of a media caravan yearly. I don't know if the Braves still do. I know they did.
I don't think they do anymore. And the reason why is they were really, really wanting to get people into the Battery.
Yeah, they wanted everybody to come to them. So
right. So they decided we aren't doing the caravans, and they used to do a big caravan.
Yeah.
And now it's, okay, we're going to do a weekend at the Battery, and oh, by the way, stay at one of our hotels in the Battery, and oh, by the way, eat at our restaurants at the Battery.
Yeah. Which I get,
look,
but...
if they came to me and said, you got to get in the van and go down to Waycross with a player or two, I would do it in a heartbeat.
I'm in. That'd be a blast.
I think that is so important.
Well, maybe we pitch some ideas, because between our soccer down here stuff, the mini pitches, skills competitions, some former players who are still in the Metro Atlanta area who can get involved, all the different breweries that we're connecting with, we can put together some pretty cool stuff.
I agree. We just got to get the all clear on health and safety first.
Yeah, of course.
But once we get there, it's just, you've got to reinforce these bonds, because through no fault of the club, through no fault of anyone, only through the fault of COVID, I think there is this feeling now that fans feel a little bit disconnected to the guys, and we've got to reconnect that. Yep.
We'll hit the ground running when we can. We got plenty to talk about in about 30 minutes, a little earlier than normal.
Yeah, it's a long morning for you, Jason. I didn't realize that until after the fact. I apologize. But the Braves are on at noon, which means they're going to be on at 2, and we don't want to be on and force you away from the Braves game. So we'll do stoppage time coming up at the top of the hour, the 92.9 The Game Facebook page, and we'll try to figure everything out as best we can.
We'll try. Facebook.com/929 The Game. Talk to you in about 30 minutes, Mike.
All right. See you, Jason. See you, John.
Be good.
All right, we got about 15, 20 more minutes here. We have not talked about Copa Libertadores. Let's get caught up on that. So last night, results. You've got Boca Juniors in the knockout round now. They drew at home with Libertad 0-0. Was not an exciting match. You have Gremio in the knockout round, 2-0 winners over Universidad Católica. Internacional did not lock up their spot. They drew 0-0 at América de Cali. All they need to draw in the last match day to get through. Liga de Quito clinched their spot in the knockout round. 4-0 win at home over Binacional. No surprise there. Peñarol was maybe the big surprise. They won at home big over Colo-Colo. Really dominated that game. That moved them into third place in Group C. Jorge Wilstermann also a surprise. They got a draw, scoreless in Brazil against Paranaense, who did get their spot in the knockout round nailed down. But Wilstermann holds their spot in second, and they have one more match on the road. This is one of the Bolivian teams that generally do not travel all that well. They have one more match on the road in match day 6, and they go to Chile and Colo-Colo. That group could be the one to really watch on the final match day. So Paranaense's in. Wilstermann's on 7. Peñarol is on 6. Colo-Colo's on 6. That one's going to go down to the wire, and those games will be played at the same time. Today's matches, and there are a bunch. It starts at 6:15. Caracas hosting Independiente Medellin. Nacional hosting Racing. Palmeiras hosting Bolivar. 8:30, you got River hosting Sao Paulo at Independiente Stadium. Flamengo hosting Independiente del Valle. We talked about that earlier. Alianza Lima hosting Estudiantes de Mérida, who has some positive coronavirus test results as well to deal with. And Junior hosting Barcelona. What juice box numbers jump out to you today, John?
Okay. Caracas minus 154 going up against Independiente
Independiente Medellin's been really disappointing. Caracas has been one of the more surprising teams in the tournament, so not too blown away there.
Racing plus 123 going up against Nacional.
Nacional's won every match. Maybe they take it a little easy here, but I don't know. That's not really their personality, so I think that's going to be a tough one for Racing.
Nacional, by the way, is a plus 227, and that's changing as I'm staring at it.
I might go Nacional there.
Palmeiras minus 476 against Bolivar, plus 1132. Alianza Lima plus 110 going up against Estudiantes Mérida.
Run away from that game.
Flamengo minus 189, IDV plus 473.
With all the possible absences there, don't touch it. There's just no way to know what each team's going to have on the field.
Junior minus 238, Barcelona plus 669.
Barcelona's been poor. That feels about right.
River Plate 161, minus 161, Sao Paulo plus 428.
Yeah, that feels about right too. Nothing really jumping out that you need to sacrifice good juice boxes, or we've had a suggestion for breakfast items since John doesn't like the breakfast items.
Well, but since we're turning the corner,
not quite. It's too early. It's not Halloween time yet.
Starting tomorrow, okay.
Starting tomorrow is October.
Yes.
Last time I checked, Halloween's the last day of October.
Yeah, so we're not going to be like the grocery store that puts out the Christmas stuff in like August.
No, the only good thing about that is when they put the Reese's pumpkins out, because they go from Reese's Easter eggs to the pumpkins usually super early. Then immediately after that, they break out the Christmas trees. It's all the same thing. It's just the way it's shaped. But those are amazing.
Shaped differently. I end up hoarding the Christmas trees and the Easter eggs.
They're all the same. You don't have to hoard them because they're just going to do a new shape.
I know.
But they're somehow better than normal Reese's. Anyway, what else do we have on the Twitters before we wrap?
Couple of things. Jake Michaels. Since I'm hungry for some head coach rumors, I've got a few questions today.
Okay.
Will we return to South American roots?
We could. I mean, I don't think it's impossible for that to be the case. I think you're looking more for the right personality than where they were born. I really think the personality of the coach is going to be the most important element here.
He says, is it a possibility they've decided on a coach, plus he's working with the front office already in some capacity, as some have suggested?
I don't know who suggested that, but that sounds like I heard some noise earlier out the window. I didn't think it was a black helicopter, but maybe it was. Just because signings are happening doesn't mean that there's a coach in place. Again, I don't know how to convince people that coaches don't make signings. See, Gwen agrees with that.
Gwen's trying to convince folks.
Gwen's trying to convince everybody of that. Actually, I know what Gwen is trying to convince me of right now, because I believe those might be the Bienvenido Marcelino scarves that have arrived.
Oh!
Die Hard does not mess around with getting that stuff out quick. And Gwen is very excited, running to the door, barking at me to make sure I know that something just arrived.
Well, I can finish up Jake's.
No. It's okay. It's okay. I don't have to go get them. They're not going to run away from the door.
I want to see them.
Jeez, relax, John. What else does Jake have? I'm not gonna run out on Jake.
Typically, Atlanta United go for a big name. Will that change?
That's a good question. That's something that I've mentioned is they have gone for somebody with a name. And that's the part that I do wonder if it will change. Again, I think the personality of the person and a willingness to play young players is going to be really important. Quinn is really making sure I know about this. Those things are going to be even more important now than they used to be. So it doesn't have to be a big name, but that's who they went for in the last two. So do they go that road again? I don't know. That's the question that I have that I'm waiting to see. That's really the one thing that I've zeroed in on is, okay, you went with two guys who had name value and were coming off of jobs that people questioned different things about them. And they came here, and I do think both. And yes, I do think Frank de Boer boosted his profile by being here and winning trophies. And the Netherlands job opened up outside of all of it. Like, that was a little bit of fortunate timing. But they obviously didn't look at his time here as a bad thing. They looked at it as a good thing. So I think you could see a manager in that type of situation who's trying to raise their profile or bounce back, because that's what the last two were.
Breaking news sounder, please.
Wow, we got all the things going on right now. Hold on. Man. Breaking news from John.
Well, it's actually breaking news from Nick.
Well, you're giving it.
Yes. From Napoli, their own selves. The swabs made yesterday to the Napoli team group are all negative. Next swabs done tomorrow afternoon at the training center. So, Nick, so far so good for Napoli. 0 positives on the first round of testing. Testing will continue.
Yeah, I mean, they've been testing. They'll continue to test. But there was a fear, and you have to check, and that's why the Vikings shut down their facility. That's why all of that's going on. You have to check, and you have to be careful. But there has not been an instance of transmission through a game. Will it happen? Probably. And I'd be curious to see if it happens in game action, or if it happens from players from opposing teams hanging out around the game after the game or whatever. But you're doing all the testing. You're trying to stay on top of it. You're going to have things happen, but so far Napoli has not been affected by Genoa having their outbreak and that being discovered after they played Napoli.
And the last thing on Twitter comes from Chiefs coach Steve in our dessert discussion. He is suggesting Swiss cake rolls from Little Debbie.
I never really got into those. Didn't really like them. If I'm
an
going,
oatmeal cream pie guy myself.
No, if I'm going Little Debbie, it'll be the nutty bars. Those are the ones that I'll go for.
Understood.
Okay. Then you hold down the fort for a minute. I'll go grab this box so I can show everybody what the scarf ends up looking like, because we still have a few to sell.
Yes.
We had a good day yesterday. Thanks to everybody who jumped on board yesterday buying the scarves. We are under 40 left. I think we're at 35 now. So they are moving very, very fast. Let me go grab that.
Go grab that, and I'll do the promo. All right, so if you are interested in getting one of those Marcelino Moreno scarves, here is what you do. It's $25. And that includes shipping, handling, envelopes, all that kind of stuff. And you can do it via PayPal. And we want to thank everybody who has done this so far. It has been a tremendous outpouring from all of you. And it was a fantastic idea by Jason to do this. So in giving to Marcelino Moreno for everything that he has done back home, this is where we wanted to help out. $25. You can send it to PayPal to our address, soccerdownhere@gmail.com. Soccerdownhere@gmail.com on the PayPals, $25. That includes everything. And you can help out the initiative to help out the school named after Marcelino Moreno back home. And so really looking forward to giving back in the way that we are. And it sounds like Jason's opening a box. So that's always good. Box cutters are hopefully close by, or at least a pair of scissors. But once again, $25. PayPal, soccerdownhere@gmail.com. And don't forget to, when you DM us, you can DM us and let us know if you're interested. Don't forget to include your address as well. So that way, let us know the address that we're shipping to. Let us know who's getting it and what's going on. So $25, soccerdownhere@gmail.com on the PayPal, and check it out.
Let's get that side first. Bienvenido, Marcelino. I can't go back far enough, I don't think.
It's all good.
It's close.
Then rock back and forth.
I can't rock back and forth too much further here. Bienvenido, Marcelino.
You got Bienvenido, Marcelino.
Bienvenido.
Atlanta es familia. There you go.
There you go.
There it is. It's in-house.
They look very good. They feel very good. They're very soft. It's pretty awesome. Somehow, Uncle No Pockets, your okay, the auto moderator is a little interesting on what got held up. I'm not going into it, John. Uncle No Pockets knows what I'm talking about.
Chiefs coach Steve, I think has the appropriate Gwyn gif here.
Yeah.
Dad, there's a package at the door, Dad.
Basically, except Gwen probably thought it was pizza.
Yes.
Because she goes insane for pizza.
Nothing wrong with that.
Pizza crusts are Gwen's favorite thing in the world, and whenever anybody knocks at the door or anybody comes into the building near the front door, she thinks it might be pizza, and she's going to get some, and she gets excited. Yeah, it happens.
But yes, the promo while you were going to.
She doesn't spit that much though. Chiefs coach Steve. She doesn't have the spit going everywhere.
No, but and she doesn't do the Triple H thing with the water. But no, we reminded folks how to do it. If they were interested in picking up a scarf, $25, soccerdownhere@gmail.com. Hell of an idea, and just looking forward to helping out as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, we're trying to move all of these and make as big of a donation as possible. We got a great deal from Die Hard on the scarves. First, just getting them done so quickly and getting the design done within hours of sending the idea over. And it was after hours when I sent it over.
Yeah.
And I had designs before the night was done, which is crazy. We got that nailed down. They got the production started really quickly. They gave us a discount so they could contribute a little bit to the cause, which was awesome. Outside of that and just getting them to people, that's the only costs. Everything else is going to Atletico Palmira. So far it is looking very good and is looking like a nice donation we'll be making to the Escuela de Futbol Marcelino Moreno.
Yep. Today is International Podcast Day, by the way.
Well, that's cool. I like that.
And since we are international and a podcast, we can be a part of this day.
How do you propose us being part of this day, John?
By us doing what we've been doing for the last hour and 43 minutes.
That's accurate. Crazy thing, I don't have all of the numbers. I probably should do a deep dive on our Blog Talk Radio days.
Yeah.
We started doing the Soccer Down Here show in mid-January of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have those. When did we move to Spreaker? Late 2018?
Yeah.
Maybe around this time in 2018, actually, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think it was.
I'd have to go back and pull the times. But so far on Spreaker, we have released 1,053 listenable episodes, and probably next week we'll go over 1 million downloads. Total live plays were already well over 1 million, including the Blog Talk days. We're definitely well over 1 million. Craziness when this thing started as an hour-long show. 5 takes, you're awesome. We will figure out distribution a little bit. I might turn into a pizza delivery guy myself and deliver some of the scarves, at least to the ones near me, and save a little bit on some of that shipping. So we'll figure that out. I'll go through the list and kind of sort out some ideas on how to break it up and do it.
And along that line, if I can help out on this end of town, let me know.
Yeah, we'll figure out the logistics for it so we can send as much to the school as possible. It's a project that, I think you guys who've listened to me talk about this stuff for a while. The mini pitches I love. Whatever can help grow the game in not even just different parts of Atlanta, different parts of the state, different parts of this country, different parts of the world. It's really cool because everybody should have access to it. Everybody should have the opportunity to play. And, Marcelino's story of somebody who, maybe wouldn't have had that access. Luckily, he had people that were looking out for him that paid for his registration to play in the local league and got that taken care of and got him to practices because they didn't live close to the club and helped him out when he needed some help as a kid. That helped him become a player who will now be an important figure at Atlanta United. You know, it's awesome to be able to find a way to help as well.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff that I love, and I'm glad all this kind of came together on a crazy day.
Nothing wrong with that. You've got stoppage time at the top of the hour.
I do have stoppage time at the top of the hour, so that's going to wrap SDH now because I have to change over the whole setup here on the production side for stoppage time. Facebook.com/929thegame. You can join us there and hang out and watch Mike and I talk Atlanta United. We'll get a little bit deeper into the game from Sunday. We'll look ahead to DC United. We'll talk MLS as well. So come join us, Facebook.com/929thegame at 11 o'clock. I'll be on with the midday show at 1:25 as well. Catching up on everything. So busy day. Copa Libertadores tonight. Lots of games to watch on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here to help us out. If you're not a subscriber yet, you can do the free trial. That helps us. You can subscribe. That helps us. A lot of people have, which is awesome. That will help us. Just little bits of things, little things, moving forward, doing these things, doing this here until we do our caravan and take over the world and all that stuff.
That'd be great.
So all of that means we're going to cut now, and we'll be back tomorrow morning. Tomorrow night, 10 o'clock. It's late night, but it will be a watch party on Twitch with Fanatis for Defensa y Justicia, where they could clinch their spot in the knockout round. 10 o'clock, they'll be at Delfín in Ecuador. So add that to your calendar for tomorrow. We'll be back in the morning. Y'all have a good one. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be back on stoppage time. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.